this is Angela, and welcome to my channel, Angie the ENTJ. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so you'll know whenever I upload any new content. So in today's video, I want to explore the Miss degree, the MRS degree that Eboni K Williams was encouraging young Black women to obtain, at least those who are interested in marriage, to obtain from the university along with their college degrees. Let's watch a snippet of Eboni K Williams providing this dating and mating advice, and then I will be back.
Reality that needs to be said out loud is that as Black men age, their desirability increases. Thus, their optionality of women is always expanding. And the exact opposite is true for Black women. As we age, doesn't matter how much money we accumulate, our degrees or professional accolades, the reality is that our marriage and partnership market value is depreciating with every passing year. No matter how good we look, no matter how fit we are, men are still seeing primarily our presumed dwindling fertility as a knock against us. And speaking of fertility, that is another reason that I want younger Black women to seek marriage and partnership in college or right after, if that's what they choose. Because the number of college-educated Black men is so low when compared to Black college-educated women that we're all going to be targeting the same small pool of men. And as we heard today, on most campuses, there's like 7 Black women students for every 1 Black man student. Y'all do the math. So here's my advice. If you are a young Black woman in college and you know in your heart and in your head that you want to prioritize family, I suggest that you simultaneously pursue that MRS degree right along with that BA or JD. Because a handful of Black college-age men that actually do desire to get married soon, and they do share that value system, and family is a priority for them too. Y'all, that is an incredibly small pool, and it's shrinking as you get older. And by the time you reach my age, 40, you will be faced with different choices relating to life partnership and motherhood. Now, I'm not saying that delaying marriage or motherhood is a bad option, but it's one that comes with its own consequences. And our women deserve to know on the front end of their decision making instead of on the back half.
I'm back. I recently gave my input on Tyler Perry's light bill dating advice, and now here we have Eboni K Williams attempting to shrink Black women's dating pool to exclusively Black men. And the question is, why? Why? Why, especially when there are not enough Black men to go around, and on top of all of it, there is a surplus of over 70 million men globally, which basically means that if you line up every available girl and woman with a man each, there would be more than 70 million boys and men left over, respectfully, who are not paired with a girl or a woman. So with those numbers, okay, with there being a surplus of men on the planet and a deficit of women in numbers, and Eboni K Williams is promoting dating from a dating pool where there are not enough men to begin with, it itched my economic curiosity. Because it does not make analytical sense, considering that when we look at the population of all women globally, we are the ones who are a scarcity. Now, let me back up a little bit. It is true that when we look at ourselves as African Americans as a community, that African American women do outnumber African American men. That's true. However, the opposite is true when you remove the label African American and you look at the numbers of men, which are higher, versus the numbers of women, which is lower. So why are Eboni K Williams and previously Tyler Perry, 2 unmarried people, by the way, concerning themselves with what us married folks over here are doing? Why are they so invested into what young Black women are doing in order to join us over here, despite the fact that some of us have divorced and remarried, and or married later in life, and or got blended families, you name it. Okay, so the first thing that I noticed is that these talking heads are relying on the Ash effect. In a previous video on my channel that I created back in August, it's titled "Crediting Content Creators for Their Concepts Prevents POOKIE from Becoming King." I know, kind of weird title, but it makes sense if you watch the video. And in parentheses on that video's title, I put Ashline Test. I explained that the Ashline experiment and the subsequent Ash effect, and for those that are listening in, it's spelled ASCH because of Solomon Ash, a psychiatrist. And I forewarned that there are demagogues in the midst. I forewarned that they will attempt to use the Ash effect to reinstall a POOKIE as a king. For those who may not be aware of what the Ash effect is, here is a snippet of my own video explaining it. You see this line here on the left? Now, you're by yourself. So what I want you to do, say to yourself, which line on the right does it mostly resemble? Okay? Most of you are going to pick the line above C on the right, and that is the correct response. However, the Ash effect will show up whenever that same individual is placed into a group of people. More than 70% of individuals, when they are placed in front of an obvious truth, they will agree with the group, even if the group is lying and the individual, such as yourself, knows that it's either a lie or at a bare minimum, that individual may doubt what it is. They will just go along with the group. You know who also knows this fact? You know who also knows that human beings have the tendency to be affected by the Ash effect when they're in a group? So why are there so many interests investing in the devaluation of women, especially Black women? Is it because of what I said nearly 2 months ago, back in August, about certain personalities that will attempt to reinstall a POOKIE as a king so that they can continue to abuse Black women for profits? Or is it truly for the well-being of Black women to have a 40-year-old woman who looks like she's in her 20s very easily to say, oh, you don't want to be like me, oh, miserable me? Is it really for the well-being of Black women? Well, I look at things through numbers. And here's my take on it based on numbers. Listen, women are the economy, and this is why you should understand it better. Without women, there is no economy. What many historically toxic patriarchal societies are starting to learn in the hardest of ways is that, wars, oppression, harsh treatment of women, inequality, exploitation of boys and girls, or exploitation of anybody for that matter, just to name a few, are the types of things that can cause economic collapse and for a society to go extinct. I just did a few videos a little more than a week ago explaining that women contributed nearly $11 trillion of uncompensated labor in 2020 alone, and that our unpaid labor is an economic subsidy. In other words, when I say subsidy, it means that it's contributing, it's helping the economy to keep going. It gives it a boost. So if we were to stop doing uncompensated labor for a day as women, it would have catastrophic economic consequences. This is exactly what women did in Iceland back in 1975 during an event called the Long Friday, and the very next day, their government responded by providing much needed services to its citizens. As a result, still to this day, Iceland is one of the nations on the planet with the highest quality of life for its citizens. I also did a video where I cross-referenced details from the CIA World Factbook against the ranking nations on the United Nations Human Development Index, And it confirms that nations where the citizens are wealthier, healthier, more educated, and have a longer lifespan have a trend of first-time mothers being above the age of 25, especially when they are closer to the age of 30. And I also showed where the opposite is true. And you do not have to believe me by no stretch of the means. I'm not here. I'm not a demagogue. I don't need you to believe in me or what I say. What I do is just show you. So if you don't believe me, fine. Just do yourself a favor and research the nations where there are a lot of migrants who are currently fleeing from the chaos of their homelands, and check the average ages of first-time mothers in their nations that they're fleeing from versus the nations that they are fleeing to, so that you can see it for yourself. Now, the average age of a college graduate in the U.S. is about 23.7 years old, so between 23 and 24 years old. There is a 2016 article from Psychology Today showing that the ideal target age for marriages that are long-lasting are marriages that occur when people are between the ages of 28 and 32. And that study does not specify gender. Which brings me to an entirely different talking point about how these people seem to not know what a woman is until their profits begin to dry up. And no, hold on. I'm not attempting to take a swipe or throw shade at trans women. That's not why I said what I said. I'm just saying what it looks like from my perspective over here. I am simply saying that since the definition of my existence has been changed to become more fluid, perfectly fine, then the economy needs to become more fluid and keep up with the times. Fair is fair. That's all I'm saying. Fair is fair. And that's all I'm saying, nothing more. I'm saying, why didn't they just simply address the issue up front? And that's Eboni K Williams, Tyler Perry, and anybody else. Okay? Why don't they just say, simply, for instance, oops, we've been ignoring the truth and empirical data for ages. And now we have a looming economic crisis on one hand and a growing incel movement, which is also a crisis, on the other hand. And all of this is about to hit the fan. That is, unless those of you with wombs do all of us a favor in order to make it go away, at least for us. We are going to need you birthing people to be the bottom of the rung of our society again, which means that you will have to live in poverty, become pregnant, and have babies who you all will struggle to raise as single moms. I mean, as single, no longer pregnant people. Or let's just say, raise as single parents for the sake of simplicity. That's because we nurtured the incels to hate you, so you will eventually end up as a divorced single parent anyway. And that we need to keep the scheme up where you work as many hours in 2023 going into 2024 as enslaved people did on George Washington's plantation back in the 18th century. Except we will pay you poverty wages most of the time. And the $200,000 per year worth of uncompensated labor that you'll do on average will be paid with, oh, thank you, and other flattering compliments like you're so nice. And we promise there won't be any whips or chains or auction blocks. We promise.
That's not submissive. That's manipulation. That's bullshit.
Andrew Tate, you're messing it up for us. Andrew, stop. Go away. And we're not done. And while you go through what you're going through, we can continue to ignore the policies that will make everyone's life better, especially yours, while we continue to rake in major profits. And everybody will be happy again. Okay, you dummy with 2 X chromosomes. You person with a womb. And think about it. If you don't do that, who else is going to be around to fix your lattes and flip your fast food burgers? Who else's heads can we use as our footstools? So will you please endure the liabilities of our toxic patriarchy just like our mothers, grandmothers, and aunts used to? Pretty please. That's what it looks like to me. That's exactly what it looks like. Why don't they just come out and say it like that? I know I just went off on a tangent there, y'all. So let me get back to the content. Okay, so back to what I was saying earlier. Our society has been a very toxic form of patriarchy for quite a long time. And the issue arising right now, a very inconvenient truth, is that it is too late to repair the damage this imbalanced way of life has caused to numerous communities, especially Blackistan. So what Tyler Perry and Eboni K Williams, if not them, people who are in their ear, are relying on, is that 70% of people are more likely to conform to group dynamics. And in this case, with Eboni K Williams saying get your MRS degree, she is behaving as a paid actor in order to influence young women back into Blackistan. This is because without women, there is no community, and when there is no community, there is no economy. Okay, so I showed you my viewpoint using cross-referenced data, you see. And unlike what it appeared Eboni K Williams did, what I did not do, I did not just find some numbers and say that there are more black women than there are black men, okay? That there is one black man for every 7 black women in college, and leave it there to make it seem like you all have to fight like cats and dogs over this small dating pool of eligible bachelors, okay? What I did was I cross-referenced my data with other information to make sure that the information that I am providing is unbiased and attached to the truth. And that truth is that Blackistan, as it is right now, as a male-centered and male-dominated community, is facing extinction, you know? Now, for those of you who may get overwhelmed with the numbers, I can help you see what I'm showing you by doing a behavioral comparison using snippets from the movie The Color Purple to show you the same thing. Now, this is a scene where Celie is leaving her abusive husband, Albert, and going off to be with Suge Avery, okay?
I should have locked you up and just let you out to work. I should have locked you up and just let you out to work. I should have locked you up and just let you out to work.
Okay, let me pause. So Albert right here said, I should have locked you up and just let you out to work. Just let you out to work. See, right there, Albert showed Celie what she was worth to him. All of that raising his kids, doing his laundry, using wash boards, cooking and cleaning and managing the home, $200,000 a year of uncompensated labor, and she did not get any thank you. What she got was isolation as payment. She was isolated from her beloved sister, and yes, he regularly beat her. So let's move forward.
The jail you plan for me is the one you're gonna rot in. The jail you plan for me is the one you're gonna rot in. The jail you plan for me is the one you're gonna rot in.
Okay, let me pause it here. So the next line is when Celie says, the jail you plan for me is the one that you're going to rot in. Stick with me, because I'm going somewhere with this. You see, that's exactly what is happening in Blackistan right now. People like Albert and his old pa, they have been left behind to live according to their own devices and their own schemes. And as a result, they are rotting in the open air prisons that they had planned for black women. And by no means is our community unique in this phenomena. It is my observation that this reality is at the taproot core of the migrant crisis within Europe and within the US as well. These are the people who do not want to go extinct, who do not want to be the ones that are left behind by time. So they will climb through the Darien Gap across the Mediterranean in boats that are not seaworthy, while risking their lives to come to places where there are opportunities for them to avoid their own extinction. And those places they are risking their lives to arrive into while passing through other nations doing so, coincidentally, are places where first-time mothers tend to be above the age of 25, and especially when they're closer to the age of 30, as well as the average age of women during their first-time marriage. Same thing. For those who are wondering, in the U.S., the average age of a first-time bride was around the age of 28 back in 2019, according to the United Nations Economic Forum for Europe, and it was trending upward at the time. The average age of a first-time mother in the U.S., according to the CIA Fact Book, is 27.3 years old. So around the age of 28 for marriage, around the age of 28 for motherhood, okay? So what happens next?
Celia, get in the car. Get in the car.
I'll knock you up under.
Everything you've done to me, already done to you. I'm poor, black, I may even be ugly, but dear God, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, so you see, Celie showed Albert that despite his devaluation of her, that she was poor, black, and ugly, that she will still move forward without him. See, this is art imitating life. While black women were being called average at best, we took our so-called average at best selves onward, didn't we? And in the past few years, with swirling, divestment, black women in excellence, black women in luxury, before those movements got hijacked, right? I know. You know, and for those of you who have seen my videos about the natural hair movement, I said that it was happening over 25 years ago before that movement got hijacked. So I understand. I'm speaking about these movements prior to the hijacking, not afterwards, okay? So let's continue.
Hey, you'll be back! Hey, you'll be back! Hey, you'll be back!
Okay, I'm back. So there Albert was. He's so stunned by Celie leaving and standing in front of his house before he got a burst of energy. Now, did you pay attention to what he was doing? That's why I stopped it when he said, "You'll be back," as a way of saying that Celie would not succeed. Now, of all the things that he could have done, of all the decisions that he could have made at that point, he did not apologize. He did not wish to make amends. He did not show any shame for ruining her life up until that point. He made it about him being angry that he is losing something now that Celie is going away. Again, art imitating life. He is angry that someone who yielded millions of dollars in uncompensated labor for him, who he beat, abused, and even at one point moved his mistress into their marital home. He is upset that Celie is now leaving him. Now, same thing. How many black women have given legacies and uncompensated labor only to receive insults and abuse in return, and when they got tired and left, the ex went on a tirade? Sometimes it was an unalivement tirade, but if not that, it's a tirade about how he can do better and he can get better and all that kind of stuff. But you go on to live your life and he's still shocked years later because you leveled up. So let me move on.
Hey, what you gonna do? Hey, you be back! Hey, what you gonna do? Hey, you be back!
Now, did you see what Albert did? First he said, "You'll be back." And did you notice what he said afterwards? The next thing he said is, "Hey, what you gonna do?" See, I caught that one. And haven't we gone through this stage repetitively where we move on, we are in our space, and then they migrate over to where we are, and then they try to dominate, control, while at the same time saying, "You ain't gonna make it without us, you're gonna be back." And we're over here like, dude, you came over here. We didn't go to you. You came to us. See, this is what's happening now that we've left. See, they were real hard on calling us average at best and all that other kind of stuff until Red Bull gave Kevin Samuels his wings. Kicked the bucket, didn't he? And you see, they did not know what life was going to look like without the heads of black women to prop their feet upon. So going back to Albert, he asked that question, "Hey, what you gonna do?" He was asking that so that he could muster all his strength to find a way to interfere with her progress. He wanted to get all up in her business and run interference. And for those of you, you know the rest. Silly went on with her life and she left Albert in his dust. Okay? So now here we are. Today, when I'm recording this video, is September 30th, 2023, which means that tomorrow will be the 1st of October. The weather has been cooling off, and unsuitable black males, not the real men. Over here, we differentiate between real men and the unsuitable males, okay? So, with unsuitable black males, things are not going so well for them. The passport thing done fizzled out. Brazil kicked them out. Philippines don't want them in their $50 a month child support. Okay? They're living with relatives who are telling them to get out and find a girlfriend to move in with and hoping that he will knock her up with a baby, right? Because then, she'll go into that phase of, "Oh, I'm going to try to keep my family together." And while she's doing so, she's doing at least $200,000 worth of uncompensated labor, and he will benefit from it. So will his family, because that's labor that they don't have to do. And if he's working, because he's not as responsible for his life, and his girlfriend, baby mama, whoever is picking up the slack, that gives him more time to earn wages that his family can borrow from him or ask for. But she can't dare ask him for it. Now, let's look at another clip from The Color Purple, briefly.
Hey, boy. What's the matter with you? This house is a wreck. Been drinking.
You want some supper, Paul?
No, thank you. I hear you've been spending more time in Harpo's and less in the fields. Well, I guess I just raised you wrong.
How's that, Paul?
How's that? Fields overgrown, animals ain't tended to, this house is a wreck, and what you doing about it? Nothing. Just sitting here drinking, ruining your life.
My life already ruined. This house is dead. There ain't no joke, there ain't no children, there ain't no laughter, there ain't no life, just me.
I ain't heard such nonsense in all my life. Now listen to me. I do just what you need. You need you a woman. Nice little young girl, clean up the house, iron your shirts, clean up this kitchen.
Hey, bye, Paul.
Now you listen to what I tell you.
Bye, Paul. Bye.
Bye, yourself a young girl. You need your daddy to back now. Get these chickens back in the coop. Or to lay eggs all over the damn place.
See how Albert is living now that Celia is gone? And there's no Suge, or his mistress. Nobody there to be his slave. No kids for him to order around like peasants in his little fiefdom. Here he is. Look at him. Collapsing. This is how a deflated narcissist appears, by the way. And you know who has to deal with it? His Paul, Harpo, and everyone else who's obligated to check in on him from time to time. Stick with me here, because right now, this is what the average dusty black male is going through, except that unlike Albert, most of them do not have their own homes. So you know what this means? This means that their relatives, along with people in their immediate community, from old classmates to shop owners to people that check him out at the grocery store on occasion when he get his frozen meals, okay, or random people on public transportation, they all are dealing with a very depressed and deflated narcissist. And you know what? That's on his relatives, because they nurtured this male entity into believing that it is all right to deny women our humanity, and it has backfired. This is what's going on in Blackistan right now. Now everyone that is left in his immediate orbit, a sister, a cousin, one of the children that feels obligated to at least keep tabs on him, because after all, that is my dad. Meanwhile, the rest of his kids can't stand him. All these people, what they're dealing with is the equivalent of a pouting child. His lip is poked out. He's sad. And they're dealing with this on their hands. Imagine a little boy that lost his favorite toy and he can't get it back. He's longing for it, right? Except instead of this being a little small child, this kid, in quotes, is an overgrown man that has high blood pressure, kidney problems, diabetes, high cholesterol, ED, and he probably can't afford or doesn't care to anymore do a Hims or a Keeps subscription. So he's balding, and whatever is left of his hair is also going gray. So that's what they're dealing with. Now all of a sudden, Tyler Perry want to come out here and say he'll pay the light bill. And now all of a sudden Eboni K Williams want to come out here and say, won't you get him when you're 24 years old? When in fact the ideal marriage age is between 28 and 32. So I've shown you both in numbers and using a comparison with scenes from The Color Purple to help you, hopefully, to understand what I believe is going on in the shadows regarding why all these major names who are associated with major industries are now all of a sudden trying to push young, educated black women into marriage or marrying a man who can only pay a light bill. It's because they have a depressed Albert on their hands. They raised him to bully women into providing free labor that benefits all of them. Well, now that black women have progressed, Blackistan is facing extinction right along with the businesses that catered to it. So they are desperate to find a poor and unsuspecting black woman to drop Albert, or should I say POOKIE. They're trying to find a woman for POOKIE so that they can get a break. POOKIE is getting on their nerves. And if they find this unsuspecting black woman and drop POOKIE on her, Pookie will feel like a king all over again, while his friends and family can finally relax, and she gets to endure his chaos instead of them. So, the advice Eboni K Williams provided, specifically targeting college women with bright futures and lucrative careers on the horizon, simply does not mesh with the reality that is being shown in numbers with regards to the nations that have prosperous economies and also score high on the United Nations Human Development Index. Those numbers are showing that the nations where the women who are closer to 30 or even over 30 in some cases, when they marry and have children for the first time, that the citizens in those nations are better off. And this trend is also seen with individual states within the U.S., as well as when you look at individual communities within U.S. cities. Chances are high if you are in a community where there are $1 million homes or even $500,000 homes. The overwhelming majority of those married couples did not walk down the aisle as soon as they graduated college. You don't have to believe me. Believe the people who are risking their lives to get to Europe, the U.S., and Canada and to claim asylum. They are leaving their own versions of Blackistan behind in favor of a promising and prosperous future. At the end of the day, we are all human, and if you want a community, then you have to do things that will promote its growth and not cause it to go extinct. Black males who bought into toxic patriarchy are unfortunately learning this truth the hard way, as this is true for many other communities globally. The proof in the numbers, as well as the depiction in the color purple, all demonstrate that we women like to be in places where people are nicer to us. And the end result leads to having nicer communities with a flourishing economy, and places that are mean to us are facing extinction. So if you want a community, be nicer to women. And if you don't like having a community, well, you're doing a good job of making it go extinct. So that's all I have to say for now. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click on the notifications bell so you'll know whenever I upload any new content. Take care until next time.